Let's start with level 1 type of questions. A person gave 20% of his income to his elder son, 30% of the remaining to the younger son, and 10% of the balance donated to a trust. He is left with rupees 1008. Find his income. A question says a person has some income and of which he has given 20% of his income to his elder son. That means now he is left with some income, and now of the left income, of the remaining income which he has, he gave 30% of that income to a younger son. Okay. Then after he gave 10% of that balance. That means after giving that 30% of the remaining to younger son, he is left with some income, and of that of the income he is left with, he gave 10% of that income to a trust. Now he is left with some income which is rupees 1008. We have to calculate his income. Okay. Let's see how we will solve it. First I'll give you a basic method, then I'll give you a successive concept in which I'll frame a single line equation from where you'll get an answer within a seconds. Okay. Let's start this question. Suppose the person has X rupees as his income. Let the income of a person be X. Okay. He gave 20% of his income to his elder son. So let's calculate. He gave 20% of his income to his elder son. That means he is left with 80 by 100 of X. Okay. After giving 20% of his income, he is left with 80 by 100 of X. Okay. Now what? He gave 30% of the remaining to the younger son. That means what amount of remaining? That means of 30% of this income he has given to his younger son. Remember that he has given 30% of the remaining amount. That means of this amount, 80 by 100 of X, because it is the remaining amount after giving some 20% of his income to his elder son. So we'll calculate 30% of this income. He had 80 by 100 of X minus of 30 by 100 of into 80 by 100 of X. Okay, I'll take 80 by 100 of X common and 80 by 100 of X common, and if I'll solve this now, I'll get 70 by 100 of this amount. Okay, it's okay. This is 80. Now what? He gave 10% of the balance. He is left with this amount. That means it is a balance amount. Of this amount, he gave 10% of this amount to a trust. That means he is left with some income which is rupees 1008. We have to subtract 10% of this income to get this amount, to equate this with this value. Okay. So let's calculate. Let's deduct 10% of this income. I calculate 10% of this. Again, I am taking 80 by 100 into 70 by 100 X common. So I write it like this. And if I solve this now, I will be left with 90 by 100. Okay. And what the question says, this is the amount he is left with, and this amount is equal to rupees 1008. Okay. Let's equate this. By 100 into X is equal to 1008. Now if I solve it, 0, 0, this get cancelled out, this 0 get cancelled out, and here I will be left with 2. Okay. Now X comes out to be 2000 from this. Okay. Hence the value of X is 2000. That means his income was rupees 2000. And this is a basic method by which I got this answer. Okay. And one thing you should make note that never try to solve fractions. You see that in basics also I have never solved the fractions, because it will be more easy to solve questions in that fractions form. Never try to solve question in a decimal form, because that will be confusing. Okay, and fractions form are very easy and you can calculate answers in a less time. So let's see the short method for this, successive method also. This was a basic method which a very beginner student should do. I expect the students to do this question from this method only. And now the method which I am giving is successive method, which is very easy, and you should follow that single line successive method to crack any competitive exams. This was a basic method. Let's see that successive method now. Let the income of a person be X. Now after giving 20% of his income to his elder son, what amount he will be left with? He will be left with 80% of his income. That means 80 by 100 of X. Always try to solve questions on a mind only. Okay, that will be helpful. 80% of X he is left with. That means 80 by 100 of X. He is left with 80 by 100 of X. Okay. Now what? Now he has given 30% of the remaining income to the younger son. That means he is left with 70% of the remaining income, because he has given 30% of his income. So of his remaining income to younger son. That means he is left with 70% of the remaining income. That means of 70% of this income. Okay, he is left with 70 by 100 of this income, this remaining income. Okay. Now he has given 10% of the balance he donated to a trust. That he has donated 10% of the balance to a trust. That means he has right now the balance amount is this much, and of this he has donated 10% to a trust. That means right now he is left with 90% of the balance income. Okay, as 10% he has donated to a trust, he is left with 90%. Of 90% of what? 90% of the balance income. Balance is this amount. I guess if 90% of 100 is this. Of the 90 by 100 of balance amount is this. Okay, and which is equal to rupees 1008. This is the same equation which we have got by solving it with a basic method, and this method can be derived by a simple successive concept. So I suggest you to prefer this successive method, because this is very helpful and very easy, and this is more accurate method. So if we calculate again the value of X will come out to be 2000. Okay, his income was 2000. I guess you would have got this method and you'll follow this method always. Now in all the coming questions, I'll solve the questions by this method only. Let's see the next question now. Let's see next question. In this question, Harsh received some amount as inheritance from his grandfather. Of this amount, he loses 32.5% in his effort to produce a film. Now from the balance, a taxi driver stole a sum of rupees 1 lakh rupees. Now of the rest amount which he is left with, he donated 20% to a charity. Further, he purchases a flat in a Ganga apartment for rupees 7.5 lakh. Now finally he realizes that he is left with rupees 2.5 lakh. Now question is, what is the value of the inheritance? If this question appears in exam, it will look like this. I am reading out it. Harsha receives an inheritance of a certain amount from his grandfather. Of this, he loses 32.5% in his effort to produce a film. From the balance, a taxi driver stole the sum of rupees 1 lakh that he used to keep in his pocket. Of the rest, he donated 20% to a charity. Further, he purchases a flat in a Ganga apartment for rupees 7.5 lakh. He then realizes that he is left with only rupees 2.5 lakh cash of his inheritance. We have to find what was the value of his inheritance. So let us assume the value of his inheritance to be X. And I am assuming X in lakh rupees. Okay, so I am assuming that he has received X lakh rupees from his grandfather. Okay, and now what has gone of this amount, he loses 32.5% in his effort to produce a film. That means from 100% he has lost 32.5%. That means he is left with 65%. Okay, 65% of what? Of X, because X is the amount which he has inheritance. So if I need to calculate the balance amount, I just calculate 65% of X. I am solving this question with the successive method, okay, which we have learned in the previous lecture. The successive method is very easy and it gives a single line equation to solve a question, okay. So I am just framing this question as a single line equation. Here the amount left after losing in a film is 67.5 by 100 into X. This is the amount which he is left with after losing in a film. Now what? He loses 1 lakh rupees, but a taxi driver stole 1 lakh rupees which he used to keep his in pocket. Okay, I'm just writing 1 here because I have assumed x in the form of lakh only. So I have assumed 1 here only. Otherwise, if I would have assumed x in the form of rupees, I would have added 5 zeros after this. But I have assumed x in the form of lakh only. Okay, then in final answer I get x in form of lakh only, lakh rupees. Okay, now he has lost 1 lakh rupees to a taxi driver. Okay, taxi driver stole 1 lakh rupees. Now he's left with this amount. Now what? After this, he donated 20% to a charity. That means 20% of what? 20% of this he has donated to a charity. And now he has donated 20% from this amount to a charity. That means he is left with 80% of this amount. We have learned in successive concept also. So he is left with 80 by 100 of this amount. So I have calculated 80% of this 80 by 100 into of this amount. Okay, in this way I have calculated the 80% of the remaining amount. So finally he is left with this amount. Now what? He has further purchased a flat in a Ganga apartment for rupees 7.5 lakh rupees. That means I have to deduct 7.5 lakh rupees again from his balance amount. So I have deducted 7.5 lakh rupees from his amount, his balance amount. Now what? He realizes that he is left with only rupees 2.5 lakh. After this he is left with rupees 2.5 lakh. Okay. Now what? I have got a single line equation for this question. However, this question was looking very complex initially, but now after applying successive concept, this question appears to be very easy. Now we just have to calculate the value of x. Okay, let me calculate it now. If this minus 7.5 can be taken to that side, and the sign will change to positive because here is negative. If I take that to that side, it will be positive. Okay, I'm taking it to that side. 7.5 plus 2.5, it will be 10. Okay, so I'm rubbing it and I'm writing it as 10. Just because of a less space, I'm not doing it in a different step. I'm writing it in a single step because I have limited space. Okay, now what? Now if I calculate this 0 gone. Finally, this is 4. This is 5. Okay, this will be 2. This will be 5. Okay, now what? I'm shifting this 5 here and dividing it by 2. That means 5 into 5, 25, and 25 by 2. I'll write it as 25 by 2, and I'll remove this bracket. Okay, I'll remove this square bracket now. I've solved that bracket. Okay, now I'm left with this. I'm removing this bracket also now, and I'm taking 1 that side. Now sign will change and it will be positive now. Okay, and this value will look like this. Now I am taking LCM. If I take LCM, it will be 27 by 2. I am writing it here because just because of a limited space, I am doing it in a single line. If you have copy, if you can note it down in a different step. Okay, that will make that will look nice. Okay. Now what? I'm just doing calculation part. If I deduct this 0, 25, 27s are here. And this will be 20, this gone 1, x will come out to be 20. And I have assumed x in the form of lakhs. Therefore, this is 20 lakh. And what 20 lakh of? What 20 lakh rupees. Therefore, value of x is rupees 20 lakh. Okay, that means the amount which Harsh inherited was 20 lakh. This is the answer of this question. Just because of successive concept, this question we were able to frame a single line equation for this complex question. Okay. For percentages chapter, I'll take more than 20 examples because this will make your base strong, and this will be very beneficial in all the upcoming chapters. I'll be using percentages concept in all the chapters. So I'll take 20 to 25 examples for this percentages chapter, and all of different kinds. Okay. Now this part is sufficient. Now I'm moving to the next question. I've taken 2 more questions on successive percentages. This first question: an ore contains 25% of an alloy, that is 90% iron. Other than this, in remaining 75% of the ore, there is no iron. How many kilograms of the ore are needed to obtain 60 kg of pure iron? Question says, there is a ore. Suppose this is ore and its 75% is an alloy and it contains 90% of iron. Okay, and in this part there is no iron. Okay, and now question says how many kilograms of the ore are needed to obtain 60 kg of pure iron. From this ore we have to obtain 60 kg of pure iron. Okay, this question is a simple case of successive percentages. Let me show how you will proceed now in this kind of questions. First of all, assume that that x kilograms of the ore are needed to obtain 60 kg of pure iron. Okay, assume this first. Okay, let x kg of iron of ore be needed to obtain 60 kg of pure iron. Okay, then now the ore is x kilograms. Okay, now in x kilograms of ore we know that 25% is an alloy. That means 25% of x, 25 by 100 of x is an alloy. That means 25% of x means 25% of alloy. This is the quantity of alloy we'll get from this ore, x quantity of ore. Okay, but we need to calculate pure iron, and we know that in alloy there is 90% iron. That means 90% of this quantity is iron. So I'll find out 90% of this quantity, and 90% of this quantity is this 90% of this is denoted by 90 by 100 into 25 by 100 into x. So this is the amount of iron which is present in the ore. Okay, and we know that that amount of the quantity of the iron is 60 kg. So I equate it with 60 and will find the value of x. I'll cut it out here, and this one's this is 4, and this is 3, this is 20, and this will go there 80. X will come out to be 800 by 3, and it's equal to 266.67 kg. Hence 266.67 kg of the ore are needed to obtain 60 kg of pure iron. Okay, I think this question will be very clear to you because it's a very simple case of successive percentages. Let's discuss second question now. In this question, a fresh fruit contains 68% of water and a dry fruit contains 20% water. How many kilograms of dry fruit can be obtained from 100 kg of fresh fruit? Question says, in a fresh fruit there is 68% water, okay, and 32% is raw material. Okay? And in dry fruits there is 20% water and 80% is raw material. And we need to find how many kilograms of a dry fruit can be obtained from 100 kg of fresh fruit. We have 100 kg of fresh fruit, and now we have to convert it into dry fruit. Okay. Then how we proceed? First of all, we'll assume the desired quantity, that this value, the quantity of dry fruit which we will produce, which we can obtain from 100 kg of fresh fruit. Let us assume that to be x. So the quantity of dry fruit which can be obtained from 100 kg of fresh fruit is x. Okay. Now what? We know that this is the quantity of dry fruit which we have obtained. And now if I remove water from this, okay, which is 20% of this, it is written that dry fruit contains 20% water, and this is the quantity of dry fruit we have obtained. And if I remove water from this, that means that is 20% of this quantity. I have to calculate. I'll write it like this: 20 by 100 of x, which will come out to be 80 by 100 of x. Okay. When I remove water from this quantity, there will be 80 by 100 x raw material. Okay, this is a raw material which does not contain any water. It is without water. Okay, so now coming to the next condition which is given in the question. The second condition is fresh fruit contains 68% water. Okay, 68% water, and now we have 100 kg of fresh fruit. In 100 kg of fresh fruit, if 68% is water, I can simply say there is 32% raw material. That means 32% of 100 is 32. That means 32, that means in 100 kg of a fresh fruit, there is 32 kg of raw material which does not contain any water. And I can simply say, if fresh fruit is used for making dry fruit, that means the raw material, the quantity of raw material will be equal. Okay, that raw material will be equal here. 32 kg will be equal to 80 by 100 of x. Okay, because they both are raw material without any water, and this should be equated. So I am equating this. 80 by 100 of x is equal to 32, and if I solve this, then I'll get x is equal to 40. Okay, which is 40 kg. So I can say 40 kg of a kilogram, 40 kg of dry fruits can be obtained from 100 kg of a fresh fruit. I think this question will be very clear to you. Now I should move to some other questions on different concepts. So this is sufficient for successive part. We'll move to some other concepts and other questions in percentage section now.